Hey everyone, welcome back to the Self Work Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Bundi, and I am here to have another episode on our little pocket called The Nest. So if you're new here, the Self Work Podcast does many things. We've always done wellness content, but we now have a new segment called The Nest where we're talking about motherhood, fatherhood, parenting in general, and we'll be inviting our guests to tell us more about their journeys. So karibu, and today you will not believe who I have with me to share their story. I have the lovely Kambua. Drum roll. Karibu.
Thank you.
Yeah, so for somebody maybe who's living under a rock, maybe
Yeah.
tell them who's Kambua.
Kambua, my name is Kambua. I am a gospel artist. I have been a TV host. I'm a podcaster. I'm a mother. I'm a wife. Basically just done a lot of my work on in the media field. So there's a term media personality, which I shy away from sometimes, but I guess that's what it is.
Really? Why do you shy away from
Because
that?
I feel like it means so many things. And I'm only doing a tip of that.
You're doing a lot.
Thank you.
You're doing a lot. As I said earlier, I'm a fan of a lot of things that you do.
Thank you.
But one thing that surprised me as we were talking earlier is that you're an introvert.
I am the queen of introverts.
So in the media space, how does that feel like navigating as an introvert?
It's like a conflict of between, and it took a long time for me to understand that that's what it was, because it would make me very uncomfortable in the beginning. So understanding that my personality is a direct opposite of what I'm required to do and what I'm called to do. So I have learned as I've gotten older. First, I learned to just be comfortable in not everybody can be an extrovert, that it's okay to be introverted and to be quiet and to prefer my space. So being fully comfortable in my skin, and then knowing that when I step out, I'm going to do a TV show, I'm going to do a podcast, I'm going to sing somewhere, I switch on the the person who needs to be fully charged and ready to engage, because life is about connecting with people, and what I do primarily is speaking to people. So I have to have that, whether I have to talk myself into it, whatever it takes to get into that mode fully. And then once I'm done, allow myself to completely switch off and go back to the space that Kambua is comfortable in.
Yeah, I'd like to see you talking yourself into, okay, today we are going to the Self Work Podcast.
Yes.
Get in there.
Yes. Or we're going to an event. So I need to okay, breathe. I can do this. And then you get in there, and I actually, I end up having a really, really good time. But then when we're done, I'm aware that I'm actually very drained. Yeah.
So today we are obviously not talking about personalities,
Yes.
but we are talking about motherhood. We'll be doing an exercise later. But before we even get to that, maybe tell us what's your experience been as a mom? What does motherhood mean to you?
Wow. First of all, Dr. Bundi, thanks for having me. I'm so honored to be here. And motherhood is so close to my heart because it was a long road to motherhood for me, and got into it. And even though I had waited so long to become a mom, when it happened, I was still unprepared. And it almost felt like I was thrown into this new world that I had no idea about. I've done so many things, as I've listed. I can do this, I can get on TV, I can sing, I can do it with my eyes shut. And then there was this thing that I was suddenly thrown into, and I had no idea where to begin. So I started motherhood with, my son was a preemie, my son Nathaniel. So there was a fact that he came a lot earlier than he should have. So there was that dynamic. And then you're a new mom, you need to figure out breastfeeding, you need to figure out all these things. So it just felt like a whole shift suddenly. But it's also just been learning and relearning and reworking and figuring out and giving up and getting up. And it's like a whole mix of things that I can't fully articulate. Yeah.
How old is he?
He's now 4.5.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Before we even get to the motherhood aspect, let's talk about pregnancy.
Oh gosh.
I'm sure a lot of people have understood that sigh because it's a lot.
Yes.
I've shared a lot about my pregnancy journey, but maybe haven't shared with you. So I'll just start off by speaking about what was tough and then what was good, and then maybe you can tell me your view.
Yeah.
So for me, physically, I wasn't well during my pregnancy. I had fibroids, so I was in physical pain, but I do believe I had a lot of mental, anxiety as well. So for me, pregnancy was ghetto. And then just the hormonal aspect of it. I became the cliche angry pregnant woman. Snapping.
I can't imagine that.
Yeah, it was bad.
Yes.
And then later I'd catch myself and I'm like, who was that? So those are some of the challenges I went through during pregnancy. Did you go through anything that was challenging?
So what I remember that was challenging, obviously, I think a lot of people relate to just especially the first trimester, you're just sick. I just felt sick. Of course, along the way it picked up. So the feelings, the emotions that I had tended to lean more towards very happy. In fact, the other day my husband was like, remember when you used to laugh at things that were not funny?
Men will humble you. But that's beautiful though.
I think I had like a really happy hormone. I can't explain that. But then I also had quite a bit of anxiety because I had experienced the previous a miscarriage before. So when I got to the point at which I had lost my previous pregnancy, I was anxious. I was listening to my body constantly. So I struggled quite a bit with insomnia. I couldn't sleep at night. I had crazy heartburn. Those are the things that I remember that were not nice about pregnancy. And of course, everyone tells you, it gets better. Once the baby comes, you'll be fine. But in that moment, you're like, it's just going, it's just dragging on, and you can't see like, you don't see the end when you're smack in the middle of it. But overall, I would say that pregnancy I wouldn't call it a difficult pregnancy. It was a good pregnancy. Yeah.
I think there were good things for me during pregnancy. I genuinely feel like somehow, in as much as I was going through it mentally and physically, I glowed up somehow. Like my skin, my hair was thriving. So I think God was telling me, "Bas,
sorry."
Yeah, so it wasn't all bad. Yes. Anything you maybe miss or loved about pregnancy?
That I miss, let me tell you. Okay, first can we talk about, even as we're talking about sleeping and being unable to sleep, I have to mention that in the third trimester I could not find a position to sleep. Do you remember that? Or when you sleep, you have to, like, if you need to turn over, you literally sit up and then it's like a track. By the time you're finding a position, the sleep is gone.
You have to start again.
You have to start again.
And your husband is just snoring.
Like, excuse me.
I remember. Oh God.
And just propping pillows in every, to try and get as comfortable as possible. What do I miss? I miss the glow. I miss everybody just sees you and you are so cute, I think there's something so heartwarming about seeing a pregnant woman. So I miss that. I miss the privilege of, you sit. No, you have let her serve first.
Yeah,
I miss those perks that come with pregnancy, that generally the society feels a need to take extra care of you, and I think that's very special.
Yeah, at the bank, you don't need to queue. But there's once I completely missed, I forgot I was pregnant. We were at the airport, we're traveling, and I was there queuing, and I queued for like almost an hour, and then I realized, wait, I'm pregnant. Why? But now by the time I was realizing it, we're almost at the front. So
no, and no one had seen you queuing.
I know. All right. So sounds like it was a good pregnancy for you.
It was.
Now let's go to postpartum, which is really why we're having this conversation. I would describe my postpartum period as a roller coaster. How would you describe yours?
I remember when I just had Nathaniel. We were still at the hospital. Obviously, he just stayed a little while longer because he was in the NICU. And this one day, I couldn't stop crying. And anything, I mean anything, made me cry. If I asked for my tea, and it took a little longer, I cried. If I asked if I needed this and you were not there, it's visiting hours, you haven't yet come, I cried. I was so on the edge. My emotions were so on the edge. And I remember when my husband came to see me, the nurses had a conversation with him, and then he came and he said, the nurses think you have, what did he say? Not the blues, not the baby blues. I think they said it sounded like you're getting into a depression.
Postpartum depression?
Yes, is what they said. And when he said those words, I cried even more because I'm like, what do you mean I'm getting into a depression? And I think I became so aware of it. I was like, I am not getting into a depression, that I was literally like fighting the emotions. And sometimes I felt like there was space for me to have the emotions. Other times there wasn't, because you're now aware that there's somebody dependent on you, and you're being reminded. So it felt like a yo-yo for me, that there were low lows, and then there were other times I'm like, okay, we're good. But I remember my postpartum, and I'm like, I don't want to go back there. It wasn't easy at all mentally. Trying to figure out breastfeeding, it wasn't working the way I thought that it should work, or I had been told that it should work, and having to introduce formula and feeling guilty, and just I'm like, oh, I am failing as a mother. So it was very up and down for me. Yeah.
And I'm sorry about that. I've worked at a NICU before, so I do know how much a baby needs you at that stage.
Yeah.
And so you might want to curl up in a bed and cry, but they need you.
Yes.
So I'm really, hugs to postpartum Kambua.
Yes.
But you brought up something I want to explore a bit more, and that's breastfeeding.
Yeah.
You know, for me, breastfeeding was the hardest thing I've ever done.
Yeah.
And I've gone to med school. I've done hard things.
Yes.
That was so tough. What's one thing they never told you about breastfeeding?
That milk doesn't automatically spring out of your boobs when the baby comes out of your body.
Right?
I think I always imagined that it was just automatic. So here I was, baby is out, and there's no milk. And I think for the first 3 days or so, there was no milk. And it was so tough because you're at the hospital, and the nurses would literally come every few minutes to check if your boobs had milk. And at some point I was like, I feel like a cow. I just feel like, people are just checking your boobs. And there's pressure of mtoto analia, mtoto anataka maziwa, mtoto and I know they were doing it to kind of get me started, but it worked so much on my mental health, because I felt like I was failing. So eventually when it did come, which was again just drama, because I had to be given whatchamacallit, is it mamale or whatever, those things to stimulate. So then there was a lot of milk, but it still wasn't coming out, so I started to get engorged. So it just felt like a nightmare at that point. Get a breast pump, it will stimulate. I got the breast pump, and I was just getting cracks, and it was painful. I was tired. Eventually we got there and it came, but I feel like I wish I had been told different. And I'm so grateful. There's one lactation nurse who spoke to me, and I think that's what made me calm down. She came one night when I was asleep, and it was that day when I was having a very difficult day. And she said, Kambua, your body is still sending signals that baby is here. And she said, remember, baby came a lot earlier than we thought. So you have to be patient with yourself. It's gonna happen. So I wish I had been told, it's okay, be patient. It will happen.
Yeah.
Did you feel like anybody told you?
So I feel like I got that information, like just as after I'd given birth, I was told it's okay for a first-time mom.
Yes.
The milk takes time. Your body is learning. Your ducts have never done this before.
Right.
So I did get that kind of messaging from, I think it was moms I actually follow on Instagram.
Yes.
I was on TikTok, but I think it's me. I didn't let it sink in. I kept telling myself, but like, no, you have to do it. So I think I was my worst bully.
Yeah.
And I feel so bad. Like right now in retrospect, I feel so bad. Why was I bullying myself? But again, about the cracks, I think, so I bullied myself so much.
Yeah.
You must do it. You must do it. The day my nipples cracked, I then realized, you're a human being as well. Like, slow down, relax.
Yes.
So I switched to formula. We did formula for a while, just to allow myself to heal, because there was still, I was still telling myself, you should breastfeed through the cracks. But I just now paused, and eventually gave myself grace. So thanks for sharing that. I think a lot of people now know that breastfeeding is not just.
It's not automatic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Other than breastfeeding, anything else that surprised you in the postpartum period?
I think I was surprised that my belly didn't immediately become flat.
Right?
Because I thought it's like a balloon.
Oh my God.
And I was like, why do I still look pregnant? Like weeks into it, I was like, why do I still look pregnant? And what you've said, Dr. Vundi, I was actually thinking about this as I was coming here. When you said that you were your own biggest bully, I feel like now looking back, we don't give ourselves the same grace we give other people. So when I look at you, like you're sort of freshly postpartum, I see a beautiful woman who has to nurse her baby. You are really gorgeous. Who has to nurse her baby, and I'm like, oh, she's so beautiful,
Sometimes I don't feel it.
You are. You
my
really
gosh.
are. And you're doing such a great job. You're doing a hard thing and you're doing it gracefully.
Thank you.
But when it was me in it, I felt like, who is this woman? Why do I look like this? Why is my belly so big? Why are my boobs leaking? I was so hard on myself. And that's not how people, when they look at me, that's not what they see. They're like, oh, wow, she has a baby. She's taking care of her baby. And I feel like we need to change our lens and see ourselves the way other people see us. Then we'll be kinder to ourselves. We'll realize that, oh my gosh, you've done a big thing. You brought a whole human being.
Thank you.
Yes.
I feel like I need to hear that even now in this season. I think for moms who have just given birth, we really need to hear that, like the words, especially from other moms. So the episode is over, guys. Let's go home. Let's go.
Take care of our babies.
But before we go home, something that surprised me is just how much your body will change. I resonate with the stomach. My stomach is still very gravid.
And
looks gravid, and it's fine. But also, I was so surprised at how much you'll expose your body in front of so many people. Like, I would just find myself topless and my nanny's there, and I always thought I'd sort of be the person who's
covered up. Yes.
But like, your breasts just become this thing.
Yes.
And I'm now learning to kind of just reconnect with my body, because it became other people's. It's my baby's food.
Yes.
So right now I'm just trying to, this is now my body still.
Yeah.
It's a learning curve. I'm still navigating.
It really is. And I think it's just that also you're getting to recognize that baby is so important, but so are you.
Ooh.
And baby needs a healthy mommy. So a healthy mommy cannot be the one who is under so much pressure and thinking, I don't matter. I just need to feed this baby. I just need to nurture this baby. I also need to be okay in order to be good for the baby.
That's true.
Yeah.
And speaking of being okay, something that's super important is your support system and the village.
Yes.
What did your village look like?
Oh my gosh. I love my village.
Oh, wow. Tell us.
Let me tell you, okay, so here's the one thing I remember with Nathaniel. I did not want to shop during my pregnancy. I did not care to shop. In fact, people would ask me, have you prepared for the baby? I had not, because I could not stand being in the shopping malls. I'd think of going to a store to buy things. I'm like, no, it will wait. I'll do it last minute because, we plan, we imagine things work out a certain way. So when we got this surprise at 34 weeks, I had nothing. I had not set up the baby room, nothing. Okay. So my tribe, my little village of sisters, went home, set up the baby room, bought everything I needed. Like I was literally, they were buying things when we were in the hospital, bottles and all that kind of thing. And when I think back, I'm like, how would I have done it without these women? I really don't know. They stepped in such a big way. And I have found that, that tribe of women, even though the people have been different with different babies and different seasons, that they've been so important for me to just feel, imagine you're not alone. We're here to help you. Make it through this. We will handle everything else. Has been so important for me. Do you have a tribe?
I have a tribe. I feel like I have two types of tribes.
Yeah.
So they're the friends I've always had, and they showed up, and some of them are single.
Yeah.
Have never had a baby, but actually one of my best mate actually, she came through for me, and I was like, how did you know that I needed this?
Yeah.
But I think she knew because she was just there. She was physically there to see my needs.
Yes.
So maybe I would encourage somebody there, even if you've not had a baby, just go home, sit with the mom who's just given birth. You'll notice what they need.
Yes.
Because she would just come and she would notice I need sleep. So she'd take the baby, then I sleep.
Yeah.
But so that's tribe A. And then tribe B is new friends I've made since I became a mom, purely because of motherhood. So there are people who I reached out to, and we gave birth at the same time, and I would ask them, how are you doing this breastfeeding thing? And we would start chatting, and now we're friends.
Yeah.
But I have also paid for a village, so I have a very good nanny. I have
good. Yes.
I got a lactation specialist. I got sometimes you have to pay for some things.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember also just having, I also had to get a lactation specialist with, with both children that I have. I had to engage a lactation specialist, and they helped me quite a bit, just getting through that journey. When I feel like first babies when you're just super, super rookies. So we had this idea that we don't need a nanny, we'll be fine, the two of us. And I kid you not, it was just the first night we were like, we are losing it. We are losing it. And unfortunately, I was also very sick. I had to be readmitted. So there was a lot of other things happening. But again, the tribe was like, no, you guys, you actually need a nanny. So they brought help, and it's what you're saying, that the people who are able to be there and recognize the gaps, even if you think you don't need it, but you actually need that help, that extra hand, so that you're not worrying about, I need to cook and then I need to, because the time is so little between when baby naps. You're like, okay, let me shower. Let me, by the time you're shutting your eyes for a nap, baby's awake again. Yeah.
Oh my. And you've mentioned something that I think I'd like to know. Does it get better with baby number 2? Is postpartum better with the second one? Or?
It's different.
How so?
It's different. There were parts of me that recognized that this is not new. So I knew the fact that it would pass. I knew that. It just felt very different. And this is how, with my daughter, Natalie, who's now a year and something, it was different. Number one, with that pregnancy, I put on more weight than I did with my previous pregnancies.
Oh, wow.
So the struggle that I'd had before, the one was saying the belly nini, this was like times 5. I was like, I am so overweight. So it felt like those thoughts were louder in my head.
Right.
But then I knew, and my tribe again. I had that time I was closely with a friend of mine called Rachel, and she kept saying, Kambua, be kind to yourself, extend grace to yourself.
Right.
And she was like, but you lost your weight when you had Malachi, who's not with me. You lost weight when you had Nathaniel. You just had to give yourself time. So I had someone who also reminded me, but there were many points where I realized, even with the lactation, when I was struggling, and reached out to, hey, Mama Mudoni.
Same.
Yeah, she's
Yeah,
fantastic.
She is. She is.
I knew that in as much as I'm struggling, there's that awareness that I've been here before. It's not the end of the world. We'll figure it out. Baby will be fine. I didn't have as much guilt when I needed to do formula. I was like, baby fed is best. Yeah.
So you want to tell me breastfeeding doesn't get easier with the second one? Oh my goodness. I'm just recovering. Take me slowly. Does it get easier? Breastfeeding? Don't lie to me.
It was for me. It didn't get easier.
Oh, wow.
Again, I think because every pregnancy is it's very different, and your body is doing this. It's doing the pregnancy again, but it's a different journey. It's a different baby. So, whereas I imagined, now the milk came in a little faster.
Good.
That time, so that's a plus. But I still had the struggles of maintaining my supply, and that's how I had to engage lactation specialists for, like, okay, my milk is dwindling. What do I do? To a point where I had to relactate at some point. Wow. It went to completely zero because I was extremely stressed. I was overworking, taking care of the kids and doing da-da-da. And I was like, now I have no milk at all. And she said, you know what? We can relactate. Wow. So it still was very challenging. Different challenge, but still very challenging. Now, there are people who can't relate.
Yeah.
There are people who cannot relate. Let me tell you a quick story, real quick. When I had Nathaniel, I remember during that time when I was like, I don't have milk, I don't know what to do. So we had the NICU, and this lady comes. She was a beautiful Somali lady. She had just had a baby the same day. She walks in with a bottle, pumped, like half of it was... And she's like, she's telling the nurses, leo sina maziwa, sijui shida ni nini. I was like, excuse me. And so I came to understand that we are just different. Our bodies do things differently. So someone might have a really easy journey. Mine was not easy, even with
Thank you. That really validates me, because there's this pressure, even like with social media, people will be like posting how many bags they've,
with a freezer full of.
Do you know, by month 2, I was going back to work, well, after 3 months. Yes. By month 2, I had nothing in the freezer. Like, I would pump and then it's used,
Yes.
So I had to, of course, get some extra help. But I did feel that pressure.
Yeah.
But I feel like there's always grace to be given to yourself, as you had said earlier. I mean, comparing, it doesn't help. It doesn't. Yeah. But thanks for letting me know that the second one will also be hard. So
no, I didn't.
Thank you.
No, it might be very easy.
True,
you don't know.
True.
Yeah.
You don't know, actually.
Yeah.
One thing I never experienced, and I'm actually so grateful for, is physical pain during afterbirth. So I did have a CS, and one might consider me lucky. I was okay.
Wow.
Like, I was up and about.
Yeah.
So maybe I didn't get everything negative postpartum.
Yes.
Right, so we're coming towards the most important part, and I gave you some homework.
You did.
Have you done your homework?
I have.
Yeah.
Yes.
Before you read out your special letter, what was it like writing the letter?
Writing this letter to myself, it took me back to those moments and just what I was feeling at that time and what I wished I could have said to myself. Because now I'm looking in hindsight, I realized that actually I did a pretty good job under the circumstances. I did the best that I could for my child, for my children. It didn't feel like it at that time. So I wish I could have said those things to myself. So I was writing this, hoping that a young mom like me, like I was at the time, not so young now, can hear this and just be kind to themselves.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're writing it for younger Kambua, but also for a mom who's in that position right now.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
All right, take it away.
Okay. So, dear Kambua, hi, Mama. I am so proud of you. See how much you have grown. Look at how much you have conquered. You are brave. You are strong. You are beautiful. Are those tiger stripes I see? Scars of war, huh? Every battle you have faced, you have won. Is that some fluff I see? There's so much more of you to hug. Keletu, you have done exceedingly well. Even when you wanted to give up, you kept pushing forward. And now, Mama, just to remind you, it's okay not to be okay. It's okay to feel defeated and to feel overwhelmed. It's okay to feel like you have no idea what you're doing. Breathe. Exhale. It's only a moment, a season. It will pass. It's okay to ask for help. It takes nothing from you. You are doing so great. I see you. I hear you. I love you.
Ooh. Yeah. I'm so proud of you too. I'm just gathering myself a bit. I think for me, the best part of that letter is when you said, I see you, I hear you, and I love you.
Yeah.
Are those words you needed to hear then?
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah, because so many times I felt like I was not seen. I felt like nobody could hear what I needed.
Yeah.
Many times I couldn't articulate what I needed.
Yeah.
You feel like there are times you feel like you're just drowning in it all.
Yeah.
So yeah, looking back, those are words I would have wanted to hear.
Yeah. And I there are times I also felt like I wasn't seen.
Yeah.
And I'm just wanting anybody in that space to know that I think other moms see you.
Yeah.
When I started this series, every mom I reached out to just was like, yes, we're doing it, yes.
Mm-hmm.
And anyone I DM'd for help was always so willing. I've not felt this sense of community like I had in the motherhood space.
Yeah.
And so we see you wherever you are. We see you, we hear you.
Yeah.
And this is why we're doing this podcast.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Oh gosh, thank you.
Please come back when we're doing something else other than being emotional.
I will come back.
Yeah.
Call me, I will come back.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
I see you.
Oh. We're not going back to tears.
I hear you.
But before we wrap up, we have something special for you from our sponsors.
Yes.
This whole series is sponsored by Grounded. Grounded makes some very wholesome products for you, for the whole family.
Yes.
They are eco-friendly, so there are no nasties.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You can enjoy.
Can I peek?
Of course.
Okay, good.
Of course you can.
Yeah.
So I've enjoyed their products. Let me know if you like them.
I'm sure I will. Oh.
Yeah.
Nice. It smells good.
Yeah.
It smells good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Right, ladies and gentlemen. I hope there are gentlemen who are watching.
Yeah.
That's been Kambua, and that's been the letter to her postpartum self. I hope you've enjoyed it. Remember to leave a comment in the comment section. Share this, because let me tell you, you don't know which mom needs to hear this.
Yeah.
So even if you're not sharing for yourself, for somebody else. And that's it, guys. We've come to the end. We will see you on the next episode. And with that, thank you so much, Kambua.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.